I've done blow more than once.
How to make.
The great part is that was the start of the podcast. Well, the podcast, yeah. James going, I've done
Camped it down or something.
My name is Dean. Welcome to the Dean Blundell Show podcast. That is James DiFiore from blackballmedia.ca, at James DiFiore on Twitter, at Lachlan Cross on Twitter, from 95.7 Cruise FM, the Locker Room morning show out in Edmonton, Alberta. And same. It's Thursday, so it doesn't matter when you're listening to this. We're still on lockdown here in Ontario. I don't have a fucking clue what's happening in Alberta, but I know it's bad everywhere. Some people are outside playing with their kids. Some aren't. Some are back in school. Some aren't. Really just status quo. That's where we're at today. But we had a fucking ton of stuff go on. Anyway, good day to you guys. We got lots to get to today. We're going to talk a little bit about Fordsey and Horvath. Doug Ford putting his fucking giant foot in his mouth again, which was hilarious to watch. We'll talk about automated mechanical vaginas today, which is really interesting. We'll talk about Australia versus Facebook, which I find fucking fascinating. Did you guys know that Australia turned off Facebook? Facebook turned off news in Australia. They're like, fuck, I'm turning off the news. Did you guys
was
know
it all the news, or was it just like the
any news that someone wants to share on Facebook? Gone. It's like, no, you can't.
I saw something. I didn't know what it meant. Like, I wasn't sure if news outlets weren't allowed to share news anymore. If I don't know, I didn't quite get a handle on it. I didn't have enough time to read into it, but
yeah, bizarre. We'll get to that as well, and we'll get to some hockey news and notes because the Leafs are in first place, and I fucking hate Leaf fans. Fucking hate them. Hate them. And it's not even like, it's not because I don't hate them because they're Leaf fans. I hate them because they're the worst fans. Like, the team's fucking in first place.
Are they though?
The worst.
They're like a battered wife, man. You got to give them a little bit of sympathy.
I would like to weigh in on whether or not they're the worst.
Nothing. And let me explain to you why Leaf fans are the worst. Leaf psychos specifically, because I like to say that normally everybody lives in the middle, right? You've seen my whole analogy with the circle. Normal people are in the big circle where, we lean left or right or whatever, but we're normally pretty reasonable people. The psychos that live on the periphery, including like super Uber fans that, if in case in point, the latest issue that's happened here is after Nylander and Tavares carried the team to start the year. Team's in first place, 26 points overall. First place overall in the NHL. First place in the Northern Division. Scotiabank. Won again last night, 2-1. They've got, I think they're like 8-2-1 in their last 11 games. Austin Matthews had his, I think it was 13th or 14th goal last night. It's like 13 goals in 12 games.
14th goal last night.
14th goal last night.
That was actually a nice goal.
13-12. Yeah, it was a Howie from the hash marks. That's what we call it, a Howie. And all I see this morning, I have a great sleep. I go to bed. Great nap, great sleep, get up. First thing I do is I look at my phone when I'm scratching my nuts on the way to the shower. You know the feeling, right? You dig in, you scratch your nuts, you separate the bag sack from the side of the leg. It's been there all night.
Yeah, but then Lachlan has to actually stand up.
Yeah. Got to move the wiener around and get a little breath.
I got a pulley system.
Yeah.
Oh, do you? A series of pulleys and lifts. And all I see is Leaf fan after Leaf fan shitting on William Nylander because he didn't score last night. Shitting on John Tavares. One of the tweets I saw last night was, I'll maintain this to the very end. Austin Matthews should have been the captain of this team. John Tavares is a joke. That was a literal fucking tweet that I saw yesterday. Team's in first. First place overall.
Did you remind them that Austin Matthews is a douchebag and probably shouldn't be the captain?
No, I didn't because I happen to like the guy and I appreciate his douchebaggery. At least he's got
don't make the douchebag
personality.
captains.
At least he's got somewhat of a personality.
So would you say that the way that the media is in Toronto, would you say that, like, you know how like art imitates life or life imitates art?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the fans are emulating the media or if the media reflect the fans, because I know the sports media in Toronto probably is the worst. I would say it has
without question
being the worst. Yeah,
without fucking question.
But the fans, I mean, I always knew that. I always used to laugh at Leaf fans because I'm a Habs fan, so there's that, and also because they did this pattern every year where it was like they'd start off pretty good, and then they falter a little bit. Oh, there's the big giant streak, plummet, finish with 99 points, 2 points out of a playoff spot. It was like for a decade. That's what it was like.
Yeah, you got it. Or barely make the playoffs and then get pumped by Boston in the first round.
Add another 10.
Year after
That's
fucking
20 years.
So I always gave them a little bit of a pass for sounding like babies, but now that kind of shit is just, you're in first place. Shut up. You know
what it is? It's a frustrating thing for Leaf fans because we haven't been able to believe for so long. It's kind of like fucking being an Oiler fan, right? Year after year, after draft pick, you're like, could this be the year? Could they be good this year? We haven't been good for a long time. I mean, you've been in the fucking doldrums. At least we've had a bit of a taste here. But I'm an Edmonton fan too, so it's almost like these people are waiting for the fucking floor to cave in. To your point. It's like and so we can't just be okay with being first overall in the NHL. We have to shit on the performance of players who hasn't scored in like 5 games for Nylander. He had 12 in his first, 7 or 8, but let's shit on him over the last 5 because he hasn't scored.
Something's going on with Tavares though, because I mean, it's not just his lack of performance on the score sheet, but it's also he's had some breakdowns. Like I watched the highlights and I'm like, was that what?
Yeah, the game against Ottawa, they lost the big comeback.
Loss.
Yeah, he gave the puck away a couple times. One resulted in a goal like 2 seconds later too. It was like the worst giveaway I've ever seen. It's very un-Tavares like because
very, very so
because he never cheats. Right?
Why the sports donkeys are losing their shit in Toronto for sure, right?
Yeah. One of those guys' names is Steve Simmons. Let me give you a quick breakdown of Steve Simmons. Steve Simmons is like, do you guys have sports writers that everybody hates in Edmonton? Or is like one guy that just has to shit on everything all the fucking time?
Yes. I'm trying to think of a name.
Put him on blast. Good.
You don't have to do it if you don't remember the name, but that's what Steve Simmons is. Steve Simmons, and you're a writer, you're a journalist, James. He has the worst reputation of any sports writer, maybe in the entire country outside of fucking Bruce Arthur.
We spend all our time hating on Toronto sports media.
Oh yeah, so do we.
So the Edmonton Duns don't come to to the top of my mind right away. And we all hate Gene Principe for his stupid puns.
Oh, I like Gene Principe. He's got fucking killer hair.
Doesn't Steve Simmons have like that bad habit that some art critics and movie critics have, where if they're not a person who's shitting on something, then they don't feel like they're contributing?
Then no one clicks on their stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Steve just writes this stuff now because it makes him feel good. I don't think he writes any of this shit because it's true. Like, case in point, his latest article. This was 2 days ago when they lost. I want to say it was like 6-5 overtime, 4 unanswered, 5 unanswered goals. Nylander didn't figure into the scoring. So the very next day, and it's an aberration. Those fucking games are going to happen, right? You're the best team in the NHL. It happens. William Nylander, this is what he writes. William Nylander is like buying furniture from IKEA with the instructions somehow missing from the package. You know you have all the parts. You see them in front of you. You just have no idea how to put it all together. Nylander was not the reason why the Maple Leafs blew a 5-1 lead Monday night and lost in rather embarrassing fashion to the hapless but growing Ottawa Senators. But bigger picture, away from this messy defeat, away from the somewhat offensive first style in the North Division, his lack of impact in games has become a serious issue for the Leafs. No, it hasn't, you dumb fuck. It's not an issue for the Leafs. They're in first fucking place. He had 12 points in 18 games. He's a really good $7 million a year hockey player.
I love the analogy, though.
What a weak analogy. Oh, God. You like that analogy?
I love it. Oh, yes.
There's two things wrong with that analogy.
Because he's Swedish, isn't he?
One thing that's wrong with the analogy is that
I would have written that article just for the analogy.
That would make IKEA the best team or the best furniture store in the world, right? Because the Leafs are first place team. Mm-hmm. If you're a guy you've ever been to IKEA with your wife or your girlfriend, you know right away it's not. It's like the fucking Detroit Red Wings of or whatever, right? I don't know.
Why do you have to ruin everything with intelligence, James?
No, it's more like the Winnipeg Jets of furniture stores.
But it's easy. It's like as a writer, you're just like, her eyes were as blue as the sky. That's the fucking IKEA now. It's the same shit. It's just a cliche. And And then there is a tool called the Simmons screwdriver, as I found later on.
I'm going to write that analogy down, and I'm going to get it in on my show. I just got to figure out which players on the team are Swedish here in Edmonton. I'm going to steal that. And everyone will think I'm fucking brilliant.
And he was traded to the Edmonton Oilers without his Allen key, and was injured his first shift, I guess.
You could the first Swedish guy you find that blows something on the fucking ice, all you have to do is say, looks like they ordered an IKEA dresser without the drawers.
I think Grant would fight me if I did that.
Part of it is, why is he a Leaf fan?
No. He would be angry at that analogy, not unlike James. So
is that racist?
Yeah.
Is that racist what he said about IKEA? I find it racist.
It's not racist because it's against white people. You can't be racist against white people. You can say anything you want against white people. That's why gingers, genetic mistakes, right?
Well, they're evil. They're Satan's
like
spawn.
Yeah. They're totally worthless people, and it's okay because they're white.
No, they're not. Gingers are people too, dude. It's not like
they are not. They're awful. I don't let them in my house. It's one of the rules.
Anyway, what was funny is watching. It's weird watching the tide turn against like sports journalists now because people have like Twitter accounts and they don't have to put up with people's bullshit and it's not gospel anymore. And I think that's what drives guys like Steve Simmons and Bruce Arthur fucking crazy. The fact that anybody with a computer can do a better job than him and does.
We have a sports contributor to our show weekly, and he's a blogger. I thought about it. I thought about getting like a writer on or something. And I'm like, I don't know. This guy, I mean, everything he sends out just goes crazy on social media, and talked to him, had coffee with him. And I'm like, dude, I'd like to have you on every week. And he loves it. But I mean, not that we're the show that draws in the high paid writer for the local newspaper. But I mean, I love the fact that we got bagged milk on our show.
That's the thing is that if you go out to Edmonton or out west, the crazy part is, hang on one sec. Do you need money for dinner? Are you going somewhere for dinner? Oh, okay. Sorry. My kid's leaving. I get it. Whatever.
That was a little parenting moment.
It was a good moment. You need some
money
for dinner? Yeah. As long as I don't have to cook, you can take some money. I'll give you whatever you want. If it means I don't have to cook.
If I give you $100, can you buy me a bag at the cannabis store on the way home?
Try not to drive after 6 beers. Okay.
It's just, I don't know about you. I'm just so tired. Like, at least in Edmonton, you guys have a reason to bitch because every year it's the same. Here, you could have hope. You can be in first. You can be in last. You can be in eighth. You could be in sixth. It doesn't matter. It's the same Leaf psychos that drive the same stupid fucking narratives all the time. I love it because it gives me something to shit on after I watch a Leaf game. But at the same time, it gets fucking old so fast. It's like there is no place. That's why I'm convinced this is the worst fan base in the history of the NHL. Convinced of it. Convinced. They're
My
rich.
vote for the Habs.
They're annoying, but they're not ignorant. They're not a bunch of ignorant tools. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm still mad about them trading Subban, believe it or not. I'm still like
that was stupid.
Because he was at the peak of his career, and I swear to God, I actually, and I never do this, I think there was a little bit of racism involved. I really did. I think Bergeron is kind of a racist.
Yeah, of course you do.
And
I don't think the French are racist at all.
It was the smartest thing they ever did.
Why is that again? Because they got the old injured guy that they got for even more money.
No, he's way better than PK Subban is right now.
And I'll tell you why. Because PK Subban's heart was in Montreal. He hasn't recovered yet. He wanted to be a Hab for the rest of his life, and I think he's just not adjusting well emotionally, and I think it's impacting.
Well, that's his fault. You're a big boy.
Of course,
$2 million a year. Fucking buck up.
Yeah, dude.
Go play. Quit being a douche. Speaking of douches.
Andrea Horvath. Oh, right. We're not there yet. Okay, my bad.
I think he was going to lead with the other name.
Yeah.
No. Speaking of douches, yesterday the premier of this province got into trouble. His name's Doug Ford. I call him Fordsy. You can call him whatever you want. Fordsy is from Etobicoke. He's a hash dealer from back in the 80s.
That's true, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. He's about as well educated as my bank card. By the way, I hope you can't read the numbers on that. That would be a bad idea. Share that with everybody. Have a look at my bank card. Anyway, he's an idiot. And he's fucked the entire thing up when it comes to the vaccine rollout, and he's killed a bunch of senior citizens, and he just keeps putting on cufflinks going, hey, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Anyway, yesterday he's in question period because all of our provincial MPs were back in. They were talking about how terrible the job they've all done. And I wanted to share this video with you because it's huge. Doug Ford and Andrea Horvath. Doug is the premier of the province of Ontario. Andrea is the official leader of the opposition, the New Democratic Party. And she had just finished talking about how it's not time to reopen our economy up because, as you know, case counts are coming down. And Doug Ford the other day announced that, hey, I'm going to roll out some reopenings, maybe some gyms here or there, a couple of restaurants, see how it goes. Meanwhile, we've got this fucking like 3 different variants that are set to ravage the province. And this guy doesn't give a fuck. He's like, I want to go to the Kit Kat bar for a couple of drinks and a nice veal piccata. That's his goal. So anyway, Andrea yesterday, she ramps up, does her thing. This is Doug Ford's response, which has created a massive fucking problem for Doug Ford. But this is Doug Ford's response to Andrea Horvath's criticism of his reopening plan. Since this response, he's been labeled misogynist pig, sexist, all that shit. And I want you to listen for it. Listen for the sexism if you can hear it.
Why don't you come and join us to support the people of Ontario for once, rather than just sit there and criticize. You know, it's like listening to nails on a chalkboard, listening to you.
I don't think he got a Peloton for Christmas.
Oh my goodness. Did you hear what he said? Oh my God. Fuck. What the fuck? Okay, guys. This should have been like this. Oh, you sound like nails on a chalkboard. And Horvath should have got up and said, listen, I know you spent your high school days slinging hash, Chubby, but you know, but you don't seem to be very well versed in this health crisis. And then move on, and then it just goes away. It doesn't matter. It's just like one sentence. But instead,
can I ask a dumb guy question?
Well, hold on.
Sure.
Instead, they went to the outrage playbook immediately and shamed him and got a whole bunch of people to shame him. And why? Because, and I bet you 80% of us just found out yesterday that somehow it's like nails on chalkboard is sexist, and it's not just about the sound and how you don't like it's got it. You hate women, and it's just so stupid. It's so illogical. It's like we're living in like a weird science fiction movie or something.
Locke.
My question is, does he have a reputation for, I know he has a reputation for saying dumb things.
Yeah.
But does he have a reputation for talking down to women? He's
a Ford.
I guess. I don't know. Like, I can't recall examples of him being sexist. So
but even if you said he is a sexist, maybe he is. Like, let's go with he is. That doesn't mean that statement was born out of sexism. It means that maybe he finds her annoying. You know. Well,
let's break that down, because as soon as he tweeted that yesterday, I actually tweeted the video out like minutes after it came out, because as soon as I saw it and read it, a little light went off in my head. Like, that's a terrible thing to say.
I would second that.
Nails on chalkboard. We're talking about the same
stupid
thing.
Fucking
look at the look of it. Look on his face after he says it. He knows he made a mistake.
You sound like Dionne Warwick. I just knew what was going on inside that man's brain.
Look at it. Well, let's to Locker's point. Let's watch Doug Ford, who, by the way, I got to agree with Locke, probably didn't do a whole lot of yoga or calisthenics during the shutdown. But anyway, let's move past Mr. Cheesecake and let's get to the look on his face at the end of it. He knew. Dude, what he said was fucking offside.
Why don't you come and join us to support the people of Ontario for once, rather than just sit there and criticize. You know, it's like listening to nails on a chalkboard, listening to you.
Oh, he
Oh, look,
knew.
what-
He
One of the
knew.
women behind him like clapped her hands. She hates herself, clearly.
She's a conservative, man. Of course, she's gonna fucking clap her hands for the guy. It's not like she's any politician will absolutely betray their gender for politics. They will. That's a fucking gimme. But is it sexist?
No.
You don't find it sexist? You
You
wrote
know
a
what?
great piece
You know
on
what?
it.
Actually, here's
Fought with a lot
more.
of people
I'm going to
today.
give you a more profound answer. It doesn't fucking matter if it was or not. To prove that someone did it motivated by sexism, you have to climb into their brain and extract things and figure it all out, or you just do guesswork and you just you make it a story. It doesn't matter. It should have been a nothing story. It should have just went under the radar. Oh, Doug Ford tried to do a zinger and it sucked, and then it fell flat, and here we are talking about COVID again. But no, we did the sympathy tour. I just don't think he respects women at all, and he hates them, and he doesn't want them at Queen's Park because he said nails on chalkboard.
Well, I hold it. First of all, I didn't hear any of that, and it's up to everybody because there's two things that happen after something like this. For me, it's you see a bunch of dudes and women come out for the virtue signaling points, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw that all day yesterday, all day today. I got a tweet from a guy here. I'll just read it to you. It was sexist. It is sexist. He is sexist. Has like 7,000 likes. I'm not going to tell you who it is because it doesn't matter, but it's a famous person. And that's probably why it has 7,000 likes. So there's that part of it. The other part of it is, was it really fucking sexist? And I have to come to a conclusion based on the fact, and it's one simple fact, that he said it to a woman.
Oh,
And those are cliche, female, gender discriminatory stereotypes.
Would he have said that to a dude? I probably not. That's where I kind of agree with Dean. I think that's why people are.
No, he would have called him a fucking loser, but you can't call someone a fucking loser in the House of Commons. So you have to say
I agree with
that,
you,
or the
James.
legislature.
It's a nothing point, but it's 2021, and this is the world that we live in. Did he intend to make a derogatory comment towards? I think he just made a mistake and threw it out there, and it is what it is.
I think that one thing we have to remember, actually, the thing that makes me feel better whenever I hear people just dismiss it immediately as sexism is that women are not all of the same mind on this. I would even hazard to guess that the majority of women don't think it's sexist and think it infantilizes them to tell them that they are a victim of a benign phrase like nails on chalkboard. And I think they'd be like, dude, don't we have bigger things to worry about than that stupid sentence? Like, what? This is the hill we're dying on. I think they think it's pretty ridiculous. They would probably rather see legislation that would open up more rape crisis centers than have someone bitch at Doug Ford because he used the turn of phrase, I think.
Yeah, that's a great point.
We got Vassy content for the next week.
Right?
Yeah. It's funny though, because it starts a conversation, right? Where people look at you and they say, what do you think? Do you think that was sexist? And if you're a dude and you said that to another dude, the answer is no. If you're a dude and you say that to a female, the answer is yes. But going back to, yeah, it is.
It might be yes. It might be yes.
Depending on if that woman says that was a sexist comment.
But
my point is there's no definitive answer here. There's just how a woman took that, which in this case, I happen to think she was right. I happen to think she was right to question him. And then there's the other part of this whole thing, which is all she does is complain, which we haven't addressed. Well, she's the fucking leader of the opposition. Of course that's what she gets paid to do. She gets paid to complain. I didn't see any Ford boosters complaining yesterday when Aaron O'Toole was getting dragged for complaining by everybody else. I mean, the double standards when it comes to trying to figure out whether or not Doug Ford is sexist. There are a million different liabilities that go into deciding whether or not you think it was.
Can I tell you a quick little story?
Are you a member of the same party? Are you female? Are you male? Do you have a history of it? I mean, there's fucking tons. I just think, in my opinion, real simple, he took the lazy way out. He went with old shitty things he used to say all the time, and it popped into his big fat head. And he's like, I got to squeeze this past the fried chicken, before I die. So get out this crazy thought. And he does it. And then he ends up looking sexist. It would have been a lot easier for him just to say something like, hey, listen, I appreciate you're the leader of the opposition, so your job is to do this. Why don't you come with me and help feed some people this weekend at a soup kitchen? Or why don't we have a talk about your legitimate concerns about reopening while these other two variants are coming? Because that's what she was getting at, right? What's lost here is the fact that she's right. In my opinion, she is 100% right to question why he wants to reopen this early.
I think just the one thing that bothers me is that we seem to be applying this sort of like N-word standard onto these words. Like it was like 3 years ago where someone's like, yeah, you can't call a woman hysterical. And I'm just like, what if she's acting hysterical? what if this person in front of me is acting hysterical? Why can't I use that word? Who created that rule?
I have a story I can tell, a quick story about getting in trouble on the air. And this is because I'm that guy that doesn't think before he speaks. So I get myself into trouble quite often. And I got hauled into the general manager's office, and I was not being racist. I had no intentions of making a racist comment, but at the end of the day, it could have been perceived as that, and we did get complaints. So we're doing a contest, get this woman on the phone. She's this cute Filipino listener that calls in on all of our contests all the time. And she wins every once in a while. Dean knows about these, the contest pigs. They're amazing at getting through.
Oh, the old contest pigs. They call it the exact right time all the time. And
all the time.
You got to wait 30 days to win another prize. You're like, no, I don't. You're like,
I can't remember her name, but I always get into a conversation with her because she's hilarious and she's Filipino. And I bring up Tim Hortons. Right?
Oh, I thought you were okay.
Okay. Now,
I thought you were going to say hand jobs, and I was like, that is racist. That's totally racist.
So for me to assume that she works at Tim Hortons is racist.
Yeah, for sure.
The fact that she did work at Tim Hortons still makes it racist.
Oh, fuck off. That is
you
so
can't
stupid.
listen.
So
this
dumb.
is the world that we live in, James. And
It's the world. I don't live in that world, thank God. I don't
Yeah,
have to
you
work for any
do.
of that
Listen
shit.
to
yes,
us.
you
live
do.
in it.
You
How are you going to
live in
cancel
this
a guy?
world.
How are you going to cancel a guy that doesn't give a fuck? Like I say this.
No one's
I say
canceling you. I'm
whatever I
just
want.
telling you, you have to listen to Locker's story. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry. I thought that was done. Sorry, go on.
I know it is done. I asked her, if she was sending money home every month from her check, right? And then that made it worse. But the fact is that I had no intentions of being racist. I love the Filipino community.
Yeah, but you can't bring it up. That's
you
where
can't.
you go. No, you can't. You can't.
You can't
bring
you
up.
can't.
No, you cannot. You cannot. When someone says,
Absolutely.
it calls into your radio show with an accent, and you're like, "Where are you from originally?" And they're because that's what I would say. Where are you from originally? And they're like, "Oh, I'm from this part of the world." You can't then go, "Oh, do you do what everybody does in that part of the world?" Because that's a negative stereotype. Even I know that. Same thing with Doug Ford, which is what I was trying to get at. It's the negative stereotype of a gender with cliches. So, case in point, someone can call me a bitch. Don't care because I know I'm not a female dog. Also, I'm not what they probably think I am, which is, in my definition, a wussy, a baby, someone who cries and whines all the time. But if someone calls a woman that, my ears perk up immediately. I turn a chair around, grab some popcorn, and watch the guy melt down because that's where we are. That's exactly where we are.
But you know what? It turns out the thing with the whole "where are you from" stuff, because apparently that's racist now. If you ask a person of color where they're from, also I think person of color is now racist. So I don't know what the up-to-date terminology is. Right. But I've seen the Rasmussen poll or something in the States, the big one that the New Yorker cited for that gigantic piece about political correctness a couple years ago, and it turns out it's really mostly white liberals who get offended on behalf of minorities for people saying, where are you from? And minorities themselves are like, I'm from Jamaica. I'm from Pakistan. They don't care. They don't look at them,
No, but you know why people do that? And it goes back to something we said like 10 minutes ago, which is people just love to look like they fucking are on the tip of woke culture.
Yes.
And so what they do is they'll go, this is sexist. That is sexist. That's why when I tweeted out that thing with Doug Ford and his nails on the chalkboard comment the other day, I was like, this probably won't end up well.
There's also people that get up every morning and they just want to be angry at something. So they're just looking for an opportunity to be mad, right? So I think there's a lot of that. Is that growing? That seems to be growing. Like, why is that more of a trend? I think people are get outside.
People get angry because people get angry with your opinions now. Like they will tell you your opinion on something is wrong, and then they'll say, not only is it wrong, but it feeds into sexism, homophobia, or other general stereotypes, racism. They it's like they look for ways to connect it back to something that you could be canceled for.
They look for creative analogies.
Right.
Yeah, and that process
on your point.
That process that you just described is probably has probably resulted in more strained race relations and gender relations.
Right.
You know, like there's a lot of people out there. The easiest one to think of is just like the typical apathetic good guy who happens to be white and straight or married or whatever. And all of a sudden one day he's like reading the Huffington Post and he's like, in the headline something like 10 things stupid white men need to shut up about. And he's just like, whoa, Jesus Christ. And then he'll have this thought process to himself. He'll be like, well, they don't say that about anybody else. Why would they say that about me? And so they feel like a double standard is at play. And they're right, even though the double standard starts at different starting points. There's no reason why you should be able to disparage one group, you know, overall over everyone else. And I think that is creating a lot of divisions. And I think a lot of people are just like, this is stupid. It's not effective. You can't shame people into becoming your ally, whether it's gender wars or anything else, right? Like,
all I know is I laughed knowing that Doug Ford was going to have a fucking terrible week. It's like, if I couldn't have.
Is he though?
Person.
He looks like the guy that leaves and goes to Burger King and shakes it off real quick.
That's Rob. He's dead. Stop kicking the man's corpse, for fuck's sakes. I know it's still bloated, but still.
Speaking of stereotypes, did you guys see this picture of Matt Kuchar, professional golfer, PGA Tour golfer, that's making the rounds of him golfing with a few guys? No, do you know who Matt Kuchar is?
I do know who Matt Kuchar is, but I do not know about the picture you are talking about.
I'm going to show it to you in just a second. Matt Kuchar, PGA Tour golfer, had a picture snap with his foursome. It was actually some guys he was doing a pro D day with. So these guys get paid to go out and golf with guys. And I'm just going to.
Why do they have to have their foreskins out? I don't
foursome. Well, as luck would have it, someone just sent this to me at itsdeanblundell.com on Twitter. But speaking of stereotypes, Matt Kuchar smashes them all with this one picture. Can you have a look at that thing?
Oh, wow. Good for him.
Oh my God. His big giant penis. Look at that.
He's a little hard there, isn't he?
Are you sure that's not a golf grip? You know, the ones that have the finger grooves in them?
You know, you have a big dick when you can rest a golf club on it in your pants.
You can't rest a golf club on you?
He's got a little. He's got some wood going there. I wonder why he's erect.
You know what it is? It's a semi. I don't know if he's pushed to the side. He's pushed to the side as semi. That's all.
I don't know, but he loves golf. If that's the case, I've never seen a guy on the golf course with wood in my life, and I've golfed millions of times, millions.
So that's his shaft.
That's his wiener, dude. That is his wiener. I'm telling you, it's got to be.
That's not a shadow thing?
No, that right there. If you can look at that, is Matt Kuchar's penis.
Can you go in a bit? Can you go in a bit?
Yeah, I probably can. But
probably a shower as opposed to a grower, or God help him if he's a grower.
But dude, look at it. It goes all. We joke like this when we're out with our friends and hanging out with everybody. Hey, hang on, I got to grab my dick out of my pants. It's down here.
John Hamm apparently has just a monster in his trousers too.
This thing goes
you guys let me know when you're done, okay?
This thing goes to his.
Oh, this is Cock Talk with Locke.
Yeah, this thing goes to his hip. This isn't like, look at where it starts and it goes all the way. Like that's a 12, 13-inch grip.
What the fuck? No, it isn't. It's like 5 inches, dude. Go look down right now. Look at your zipper. Now go halfway to your thigh.
Yeah, I don't have that kind of game. I got no game when it comes to this guy is
I can pull a ball that far over, but
I have a funny feeling, guys, that I got the biggest dick out of the three of us, and I don't really want to admit that, but you guys are really hard on yourselves, you know? Whereas I'm more
I just want to see Locke pull a ball all the way over to
If you count ball mass, then Locke beats us all for sure. His balls are still in the bathroom. Before the podcast started, he was in there, and now they're still in there, just dragging on along.
I can keep a salad crisp in the fridge for a week. I got saran wrap down there.
So on a serious note, did you see Facebook in Australia shut off the news? I fucking read that this morning. I was shocked.
So what exactly do you mean by that? So,
well, let me explain. Facebook has forever allowed news sharing, right? File sharing. News. Now, let me say this, preface everything I'm going to say about Facebook with the fact I'm not on Facebook. I use it to get access to things on Facebook but I'm never on it. Never. I don't have a profile on it. My picture is actually of a guy's ass bleeding. If you were able to find me on it, good for you. I'll never answer because I never check it. I just use it to get access to people's Facebook content so I can take their content and put it on the site. Sort of what Facebook does. So you know how you're on Facebook, right, Locke? You share stories and shit. They're in Australia because Australia struck a deal with Google the other day that sees Google pay certain news outlets up to $30 million a year for access to their content, which, as you know, as someone in the radio business or traditional media business, is something that has plagued traditional media for a long time, is social media, Google taking their news and filtering it through their stuff and not getting reimbursed for original content, correct?
Absolutely. It's part of the downfall of traditional news as we know it, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So Facebook said to Australia after this deal with Google, go fuck yourself. We'd rather not give you access to our platform to share news ever in Australia. International, local, national news. If it's a story from CNN and they want to share something on Facebook in Australia, they can't. If it's a story from 9 News in Australia and they want to share it on Facebook, they can't. In fact, a note comes up the second you try to share something that says, go fuck yourself.
Wow.
In a a much more
this is a
way.
Massive precedent.
It's huge. And as someone who's not on Facebook and happy that I've never been on Facebook, I can't help but think how balls deep people are into Facebook. You know, the people that put up pictures of their family and like, here's us skiing, but you don't see the pictures of them doing a whole bunch of blow in the bathroom when they're putting the kids to bed because they can't handle life. That's Facebook to me.
But I never got life, you fucking ass. Oh, well, you're not talking about
No. So I'm sitting here thinking, how many people?
Live.
Hey, we're live. We're going. How many people are fucked today in Australia because that's where they get their news from Facebook, right? That's where a lot of people get their news.
I think you're right, Lachlan, that it's probably precedent setting, but I think the precedent that it's probably going to set is a lot of countries are going to start demanding that Facebook becomes, and social media, the big ones like Twitter and Facebook and I guess Instagram or whatever, will become a sort of public utility so that they can't make these private corporation decisions for an entire nation. You know, they're too big. They can't, if they did something like that in the United States, imagine that. Like stocks would plummet, you know, like the bad things would happen. And I think that they're too big not to understand that they are a big fat domino, that when they black out news because a country wants them to pay, you know, the conundrum is that I get where Australia's coming from. I think it was a bad move, but I get where they're coming from. But they're a private company and they can technically pull the plug. And I don't think that that's right. I think they've reached a threshold now where they should be like a public utility.
Well, Canada's trying to do, every country's trying to figure out how to reel in these massive companies, right? And everyone, I don't think anybody is doing it right. I don't think that there's a playbook for governments to deal with these. And I think we're past the point of turning them into public utilities, James. I think it's the Wild West, and they're going to have to manage themselves. I think they're going to have to rely on big business taking care of things. And the Parler example is perfect, where everyone deplatformed them by just not providing that app on there. And I don't think government has, I don't know where the in is for government. They can't even reel in streaming companies in Canada for copyright situations, or even satellite companies. They hold a thumb over terrestrial radio, and they got all these rules for terrestrial radio, and then all these streaming companies do whatever the fuck they want. Like it doesn't make any sense. Government has lost the ability and the starting point to jump in and control these companies, in my opinion. So the fact that this is happening in Australia, I think is bigger than any of us know.
I don't disagree. This is from 9 News.
I had a point there. You guys didn't.
No, I think it's a great point. I think it's
I thought it was a great point too.
I think it's one of the things that that I think people miss, which is, how do you rein this in now? Because you let it go for so fucking long. There's zero regulation. I mean, the regulation that they put in place, whether it's Twitter or Facebook, is this is causing fucking civil unrest. We should do something.
Yeah,
that's it. Like that, their regulation is fuck. We almost caused an insurrection. We should probably put a cap on this a little bit. We should probably figure this out. And they haven't been able to do it for a long time, which is their problem. And now Facebook is so big. There are 13 million people that subscribe to Facebook News in Australia. 13 million people couldn't get their news this morning because they're dumb. First of all, there's a segment of society. This is another fucking problem. Segment of society that goes, oh, I'm going to go to Facebook. I'm just going to like a bunch of things and they'll send me all the things I like. And that's news. It's not news. It's fucking never been news, right? Never. I mean,
I can't actually forever people like that because I get a lot of my news from Twitter, right? Like,
but no one gets news from there.
No, you see things that interest you and then you follow up there.
Right. But
whereas on Facebook, you can literally read the whole fucking thing. Right?
No, but even Facebook's basically like a tool. Right? That's all I consider. So if I go to my newsfeed and I see a story, I'm getting the story from CNN if I click on it, not from Facebook. It says it was an aggregate and a link showed up, but I don't have to click it. I can click it or not. And when I click it, I'm leaving Facebook and going to the news organization that is providing me the news. So I don't get it from Facebook. I always had a problem with that phrase because it didn't.
I understand what Dean's saying though.
No, but it's not Dean that made that phrase up.
Yeah.
Go
Dean
ahead.
is saying that these people rely on that as their source. It'd be like living in Edmonton and the only news you get, and we actually have listeners like this, where they've admitted that we're their news source. And I'm like, God help me. No, don't tell me that. And don't tell your friends and family that.
I guess there's something to be said for the algorithm.
Grant laughs when he says caucus.
Yeah. I always thought that the Black Caucus in the States should be called the Big Black Caucus.
That's where you're going wrong. 9 News in Australia. 9 News in Australia. The social media giant said Facebook will going to prohibit publishers and people in Australia. This is from Facebook, from sharing or viewing Australian and international content in response to Australia's proposed media bargaining laws. Facebook won't even bargain. Facebook this morning said it was left with stark choice after being unable to find a solution in discussions with Australian government. The proposed law fundamentally misunderstands the relationship with our platform and publishers who use it to share news content. It's saying it, and then this is from Facebook. We don't ask for any information anybody puts on our tech. Therefore, we're not responsible to pay anybody for it. But that's the whole idea behind Facebook. The whole idea is to act as an aggregator, to have everybody's content from a million different third-party sources in one place so that it keeps you in the ecosystem. And then they can find out how you do stuff on Facebook, and then they sell that information to other people so they can make more money. So I find it fucking fascinating because they're willing to kiss all that goodbye to 13 million people in Australia.
Is there a bigger reason why, though? Maybe by taking responsibility for the news that's on their platform by paying for it. Maybe they're opening themselves up to lawsuits. Maybe that's part of the So maybe there's a larger issue here.
Yeah, but they have some money. They have some money to operate like everybody else. Do you know what I mean? That's the part of it that I get from the traditional media standpoint, why people in traditional media are pissed, is because Facebook and Google have the money to be able to pay people a good wage to produce content and to reimburse people for using their content in their ecosystem. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
It's like Uber.
Does that make sense?
Business model, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it kind of like that? Yeah.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not liable. They can do away with liability. At the same time, they can leverage you and how you use their stuff to be able to make more money. At the same time, they're passing on other people's information as their own. It's fucking
and it's disrupting several markets at once, right? Media buys and advertising and all that kind of stuff, and data reselling and things like that. Like it's a monster. But
I hope it happens here. I literally hope it happens here.
It'd be interesting to see if it will never happen in the US, but it's something I could see happening in the UK or Canada.
Yeah.
Or some European countries. I bet you there's people looking at it.
Where the government says, go fuck yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, because if you look at what happened with the insurrection and then what happened in Saudi Arabia and Egypt, half a decade ago or a decade ago or so.
The Arab Spring. Yeah.
Yeah. Facebook's responsible for a lot of fucking civil unrest.
You know how true that is? My wife was in Egypt when the Arab Spring broke, and she was holed up in her hotel for like 2 days. And then she had to get an armed guard to drive her and her mom from the hotel to the airport. And she said everybody at the airport was on Facebook or Twitter. And that's like that was the sole means of communication. Yeah.
Fucking awesome. Locke, did a lot of people ask you about Rush Limbaugh this week?
Yes. So Grant introduced him to the docket on round 8 back in the fall when it was announced that he was sick.
Yeah.
And then I picked him up in round 11, and no one had him in round 13, which is where we are now. I can't believe we're talking about the celebrity death pool like it's actually something we're talking about. I love it.
Well, he was also so skinny when he died that it was almost like someone gave him an enema.
That took me a minute. Anyway, I have Bob Dole. The good news is I have Bob Dole and Prince Philip.
I was going to say full disclosure. Phil, I think I just lifted that joke and paraphrased it from Christopher Hitchens. So if anyone was watching and says I did that, that might be true. I don't know.
No one cares. It's still a great joke. You should have just kept it as your own.
It's a great joke.
It's a great
I wouldn't have told anybody.
Great little wine. Yeah, me neither. That's what, dude. You're talking to radio guys.
The IKEA analogy for my show this week.
I'm trying to be ethical over here.
So Limbaugh died a couple of days ago of complications from lung cancer. He was diagnosed like 2-3 years ago. Hateful, conservative rhetoric, racist, homophobic, xenophobic, nationalist.
One best dick in the world.
And I've never seen anybody die with less RIPs than Rush Limbaugh. Have you? In my life, I've never seen so many people go, after someone died, or good, I'm glad he's gone. Fuck him. Never in my life.
Good riddance was trending yesterday.
So was rest in piss. I'm not kidding. Like,
I love that one.
I missed that one.
Rest in piss.
Yeah. I don't feel bad.
Rest in piss.
I feel like a hypocrite when someone dies and one side bashes that person because if you like that person, you're like, those people are assholes.
That's not politics. He was a dick.
Yeah.
He was a dick. You know what he used to do? He used to do this segment in the 80s on his show.
The AIDS thing?
Yes. Oh my God. I can't remember what song was playing it. Like you won't love me like that anymore or something, and just read the names of people who died of AIDS that week.
Yeah. He had and all gay. Like he said it was AIDS was a plague for gay people back in the 80s and 90s. And I get the importance, I guess, of how many people listen to him. You know, at his peak, he had 25-30 million people a week that would listen to his bullshit. And from a success standpoint in radio, that's successful. Like,
is that bigger than Stern was? Or
no?
Okay.
No, but there in and around that mark. Some would say Stern's around 80 to 100 million people that listen to him every week. But I went through a list of things that he said. Quotes, Rush Limbaugh quotes. So, and the reason why I did it is I'm like, I need to understand why everybody like, I get why people hate him. He's a racist cock, but I needed to understand the full breadth of Rush Limbaugh's bullshittery. And I'm just going to read you a few notable Rush Limbaugh quotes from the last 20 years. After finding out Rush Limbaugh died of cancer at the age of 70, one of his tweets from 2001, quote, "There's no conclusive proof that nicotine's addictive." And And the same thing with cigarettes causing emphysema, lung cancer / heart disease. Rush Limbaugh.
He died of lung cancer, right?
Yeah, that's right. Here's another Rush Limbaugh. Look, let me put it to you this way. The NFL all too often looks like a game between the Bloods and the Crips without any weapons. There, I said it, Rush Limbaugh.
You know what the funny part about that was? There was probably a
Nothing?
couple ex-Bloods and Crips that were on the football teams.
There
Because
you
they
go.
got out of they got
Way to
out.
get in there.
They got out of the gang, man. That's like
Yeah,
that's a good
right.
that's a good story in a way.
Um,
Not the way he spun it, but it's a good story.
Here's another Rush Limbaugh. Women still live longer than men because their lives are easier.
Wow.
I'm not touching that one.
Very Doug Ford's. Here's another one. You know who deserved a posthumous Medal of Honor? James Earl Ray, the killer of Martin Luther King. We miss you, James.
Jeez.
Godspeed. Rush Limbaugh.
Jesus.
Oh, he didn't say that, did he? Was he in
That's gotta
Arizona
be.
at the time?
Has to be made up.
No, the dude really said that on top of having like a weekly celebration for gay people who died of AIDS.
Mhm.
So I don't have, and this is the first time in my lifetime that I remember someone dying where everybody cheered. And I never listened to Rush Limbaugh, nor was I a disciple of Rush Limbaugh. All I know about the guy is that he worked with the Kansas City Royals before getting into radio. He had like 36 wives, had a massive OxyContin / pill habit he got caught with a number of years ago. And he's a piece of shit. He's a nationalist, xenophobic, racist piece of shit. So
My stepmother really liked him a lot. She was a big fan.
Your mother did?
My stepmother, yeah, she was a big fan.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there. I'm just saying she was a big fan.
Your prostitute stepmother?
Oh God, the worst. Oh, she's such a horrible.
I saw some pictures of your stepmother, and not that I need to drag this out. I thought she looked like a lovely older lady.
That's because you're a fucking idiot, Lachlan. Okay, I don't know what else to tell you.
Had some tweets. Can you explain to us why you hate your stepmother so much?
Yeah.
Didn't we get into that?
Yeah, we did that. Or I did the whole.
Yeah, but you kind of glossed over it.
Okay. I'll just do the bullet points. Okay.
Well, hold it. She married your dad when?
Like 1997.
How old were you?
Oh, by that time I was like 20.
Okay.
But
Still living at home with your dad?
No. I was in college. But she was a prostitute and a stripper, and she served time for attempted murder of her first husband. And she was abusive and an alcoholic and a slut and like a cheater and a liar and a thief. And she was all those things.
I got cheater right after you said slut. You didn't need to say cheater.
Okay. Well, she was a horror. I legit found naked pictures of my stepmother in an envelope. And it was like all these, like she was like posing for some sleazy photographer that she probably blew for the photography session. And it was like nightmares. And then she broke into my room and found them. And I was like, and I said something to her. I was on acid at the time. And I said something to her like, hey, listen, you and my dad, when you have sex, can you keep it down a bit? And she walked up to me with her pasty mouth and she's like, that's because your father makes me come so much. And I was just like, oh my God. Yeah, that's my stepmother. I bring that up at Christmas all the time so we can show a laugh.
Was she technically a stripper?
I can't believe that I started to
prostitute?
use drugs around that time. Sorry.
Was she like technically really a prostitute? Like, did she have phone number and back pages? Did she bring Johns home?
This
like,
was
did
the
you see her
90s. She would just
in
go
the
to a
place of
donut
work?
shop and blow a fella, I guess. I don't know. She was a stripper, right? So strippers are sometimes hookers.
Which
right?
donut shop?
I don't know, whatever the Big O donut shop in Whitby on Brock Street, actually.
That's where she'd go to pick up, eh?
My dad found her there.
Why did your dad marry such a disgusting woman?
I don't know. He didn't have any confidence. I think he had undiagnosed Asperger's. He never talked to people, didn't have any emotional connections with anyone. And the number one job of an Asperger's person, coding. And that's what my dad did. He was a computer programmer, like the 70s. So.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Makes sense, right? And then somebody showed some attention to him when he was getting a Boston cream.
Yeah, he was around my age.
Fell in love.
Yeah. He saw her over the glazing of an apple fritter and he knew.
No, that's not glaze. That's not glazed there, Dean. That's customer number 4.
I had a lot of people tweet us last week and said, hey, you should maybe see if you could get some help for that hatred.
For that what?
Hatred. Like they were worried about you. They were like, hey, who drops a bomb on their stepmother on a show, calls her a prostitute and a whore? I'm like, James, because I'm pretty sure that's what she was. Like,
Yeah.
Some childhood trauma came out.
Yeah, it was good times. Yeah. No. If they knew her, they would be worried about me if I didn't hate her. Really.
She was that evil.
Dude, I have met people where I'm like, look, she's going to be the worst person you ever met. And they're like, okay, dude, it's your thing and you're too close to it. And that's why you're saying that. And then 5 minutes later, they're leaving white as a ghost. And they're like, I can't even fucking believe that would.
What would she act inappropriately at family gatherings?
She would yes. She would get away. This is how I met her. This is the perfect story. And then we can stop talking about my stepmother.
I don't think so. I want to keep talking about it.
The first time I ever met her, because I played rep baseball and I was playing in Iroquois Park and the game was over. And this frizzy-haired, stumbling, white leather jacket with tassels bitch starts walking over and she's like, did ever James baseball game is? There's a here to see James. And she was just so hammered. And I see my dad like, oh shit, walking behind her. And my dad's like, Jamie, this is Robin. And I'm like, fuck. And then she hit on my
every
friends
kid's
and shit.
dream, meeting mom at the ball diamond, all hammered up with her leather.
That's my new family, everybody. Isn't she glorious? Yeah. I don't know why she shines just on her chin.
Jesus.
Oh, I'm just getting started.
I shouldn't enjoy this, but I
know, right? I know. I want to know more. Like,
she literally legit hurt people. The world will be a better place when she fucking dies already. Like, I don't know what's taking her so long.
I don't disagree. I'm there with you. If she's as bad,
let's leave your plans off of the podcast.
I had a plan when I was a teenager. Do you want to hear the plan?
No. That's probably a bad idea.
Well, because if she dies, everybody's gonna go, fuck, James Riley killed her.
Dean's already getting psychiatrist advice for you.
I'll have an alibi, figure some shit out.
Yeah, I had a psychiatrist send me a DM. It's like, listen to your entire podcast. At the end, I became very concerned with James' hatred for his poor stepmother.
I believe he did.
Yeah.
That poor worthless whore. What are we gonna do?
No one cares about the whore. Everybody.
It's about you. Yeah.
But I don't believe in that Oprah shit where you're like, if you hold on to grudges, it's like poison and waiting for the other person to die. It's like,
true.
Oh, I'm ascertaining the data. Turns out she's a worthless piece of shit. And so
yeah, but I'm saying like it comes out when you're talking about like soccer or things like, and that's a problem because we were talking about something totally different the other day.
You ever been?
And it was like a schizo attack where you're like, and
it did come out of it did come out of left field, but I do believe he was also trying to change the topic because we had just spent about 30 minutes talking about poo.
Yes.
And then he just
the natural progression from shit is my stepmother, right?
There you go.
On the level of awfulness, shit is below my stepmother.
Does she have your inheritance?
She stole everything, right? And then there was no big inheritance or anything, but all the personal shit that my sisters wanted, especially, she said that she didn't have, and then we saw her hawking it on Facebook months later. Yeah,
she sold all your family heirlooms
after
your dad died?
Exactly.
Yeah, she's a bitch.
We have a similar story in our house too, but yeah.
Your wife sold your stuff when you left for the weekend?
No, my wife's dad died quite young, and then the whole stepmom thing.
And dude, her voice was like nails on a headboard. All right, I'll see you later, everybody.
All right.
Yeah, that was perfect.
I'm sorry that you grew up with a prostitute for a stepmother. It can't be fun. Can't be fun at like parent teacher.
I'm always
your prostitute stepmom shows up with a couple of I don't know, honey glazed, and she says to your teacher, for an A, you'll never guess what I'll do with my bum.
Yes.
It looks like a cruller.
Oh, with the little ridges?
Oh, I could say so many things. I was surprised to find out
a curler does look like an anus, doesn't it? A little bit?
A big one.
Yeah. Did your stepmom's anus look like a cruller?
I don't know. I don't
She
know. That's
may have
thankfully
been a
that's one
whore.
part of her body I never saw. I could smell it from
You
the
know
other
what?
room, but I couldn't.
I gotta tell you, I think Locke and I are with you on this one. She may have been a prostitute.
She what?
If it looked like a cruller.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Donut shop prostitute.
Outside
Of course, it looked like
chance,
a cruller.
James. Outside chance.
Her chota probably looked like a skull.
There's a slim possibility your stepmother might have been a prostitute.
Yeah, just a little bit. She did get paid to have sex with several people, but she might have been.
Did she ever bring Johns home? Did she ever bring dudes home?
Well, he brought that up. Don't you remember? With his dad.
Well, I wasn't paying attention to the whole fucking
He wants
thing.
to see if I'll say the same shit.
Dad's watching Jeopardy in the front room, and
my dad first was asleep, and then she went down to the basement, and she's like, "Here's a contractor. We're just getting an estimate." And I'm just like,
That's what she would tell everybody. That's like the fucking plot for every porn.
Yeah, right.
The basement done. Come on down.
Yeah.
Life imitates art, baby.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Was she somewhat attractive in her younger prostitute years?
No. Did you ever see that episode of
Shameless?
No, the Hank Hill one. What was that called again?
King of the Hill.
King of the Hill. Do you remember when Lurleen, the niece, her mom got out of prison?
No.
You got to find that episode because I saw that and I was in shock because it's exactly the cartoon representation of my stepmother.
Did she ever offer her services to you at a discount?
No, but she offered to blow two of my friends when she was drunk.
A discount. Or
you know why? You know why she did that? Because she was impressed because they intimidated the guy that she brought home to the point where he pissed his pants.
Oh, that turned her on.
That turned her on bullying someone to the point that, and that was the guy she brought home. So she all of a sudden became a bully to him because my friends made him piss his pants.
Have you ever thought about writing some of this down?
Oh, yes. Thought of. I have written a bunch.
Like in Penthouse Forum kind of format. Like not a diary, but like, like a sexy story.
Did you guys ever watch Californication?
Yes, I did.
I loved that show. Oh my God. So it just
David Duchovny. Yeah.
David Duchovny.
He says all the things we're thinking, right?
Well, I think there was that underlying thing, but it was kind of a gritty, and it was one of those first sort of shows that really dug into the like fucked up dysfunction of that kind of lifestyle and a writer and an artist. And yeah, I love that.
Do you know why there's so many snowflakes nowadays? It's because a lot of people had childhoods like that. And they were just like, I am breaking the chain of bullshit and I am going to treat this child as well as I can. And they have all these good intentions and they end up growing up to be a little bit of a snowflake or a cupcake, but whatever, at least they're not abused, right? Like,
would you say then by that logic, your upbringing was good for you?
I think my upbringing taught me how to be tough at a young age and handle like crises at a really young age. And my parents were not really parental in that they were around, but they never really did much. Like I always joke with my mom that the way I snuck out of the house as a 10 to 13-year-old, while everyone else was climbing through windows and shit, I just walked out the front door, closed it behind me,
See you later.
I hitchhiked to Kelowna when I was 15.
There you go.
Yeah. We had a very different, we had a very different life.
I didn't do any of that, but
I think it's cyclical.
Like normal parents.
I think it's cyclical, though. I think that there's sort of a pattern of James and Locke growing up with the and I didn't have bad parents, but maybe a little bit disconnected, not as engaged as parents as you might possibly think. And then Locke and James have kids, and like my daughters are like highly functioning and well adjusted human beings, and they're going to screw their kids up, and then the pattern will turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm convinced that a child's only job, I said this to my kids the other day. He's like, "Are we leaving the house with month?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Why not?" I'm like, "You heard." No, but
get back on Netflix.
Shut up and go play some more video games right now.
Oh, dig a hole.
I don't want to see you until you're done playing video games. But I said this the other day to my kid. I'm pretty sure every kid's job is to somehow manage or navigate through their parents' mental illness and deficiency until they get to a point where they can peace out. I think that's the whole thing.
And I did it at 12.
Yeah, you left at 12?
I was disconnected from my family and 12, 13, and then it really kicked in by the time I was 16. I was on my own, making my own decisions by the time I was for sure 16, and there was elements of it by the time I was 12, 13. I was wildly independent. Mm-hmm. It is actually a rather strong theme in my marriage too, because my wife is just like, you just do your own thing. Like, right.
Thank you for leaving me alone, husband. I appreciate
but
every wife
but
is like that.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like women want to be somewhat involved in your life. They want to care to take, you know, there is, I know that's a stereotype, but it's true. And then when you grow up and you're on your own and you're very much, you know, responsible for yourself, you block out the rest of the world and plow through.
Do what you got to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got to eat, right? It's the same. It's what everybody does. You got to eat. You got to get by. You got to figure it out. You can't just kind of sit there, which is the incredible part about you and your journey is, you know, you grow up at the tail end of your teens and your dad marries a hooker. So I shouldn't laugh when I say that kind of stuff.
I cried. I didn't laugh, but
yeah. And you meet her at baseball and she's all hemped up on a bunch of pills and she's soaking wet.
Yeah. She had
James.
Yeah.
Hi, Jimmy. Hey, James.
Do you know where Jamie's baseball game is? I'm Jamie. Please get the fuck away from me. Hey, Dad. Hey, James. That's Robin. Yeah. Okay. Can I borrow $180, Dad? That was pretty much what happened.
Are there any donuts left?
Yeah, right. No.
There are, but you don't want to.
That's an old-fashioned one. No. Now it's glazed.
Not anymore. Yeah, it's good. All right. Well, dude, hang in there. Hang in there. I hope you can
go now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Fascinating because Locke, the last podcast, Locke had a thing written on a piece of paper. He's like, don't ask James about his stepmother.
You know what's funny? Honestly, all jokes aside, actually, like I don't mind joking about it. I clearly like it's almost like therapeutic to talk about it. Mm-hmm. But to have like an hour or 2 hour discussion on it, you know, with only sprinkling it with a couple of jokes would be really interesting because, you know, people always like to read into other people's experiences. And is that what made him so arrogant and unfiltered and all this kind of stuff? Like, who knows, right? Like, I have no idea.
Probably. It's a good thing to lean on when you get in trouble. You know, if you say something untowards,
I had a bad
comes to cancel
it's
you.
not my fault. Yeah.
Exactly. Say, listen, my stepmother used to fuck guys in front of me when I was like 18. Relax.
The cancel culture would be like, she was just a sex worker trying to get ahead in a patriarchal society.
It did probably shape a lot of it probably did provide a bit of a narrative for how you turned out though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why we have psychiatrists emailing me asking if they can give them help. It's the best.
They can, but
I got a little couch time for one of your podcasters.
Dude, one of my shrinks was a woman and inappropriate things happened between us when she was my shrink. And I wanted to sue her.
Okay. We have to
Listen, I wanted to sue her. And my friend who's a lawyer, who's a lawyer said that if I sued her, then some of the stuff that we talked about could become public. And I was like, well, fuck that. I ain't suing her. So.
You had sex with your therapist?
Not vaginal sex, but other types of sex. Yeah. It depends what your definition of sex is.
I can use the old noodle to figure that one out.
Did she lick your cruller?
We use the mouth, not the noodle.
Did she lick your cruller?
It's not a cruller. It's an eclair.
I'll never be able to eat a cruller again. I'll never. And I happen to like them. That's the thing is that now I'm going to look at a cruller and go, it's a butthole.
Go for the eclair.
No.
Lachlan likes the eclairs.
No. I'm good.
Oh my God. This has been amazing.
Thanks for hanging out with us and joining the Dean Blundell Show podcast. That is James DiFiore.
I'm going to be a fucking punchline, aren't I, Dean? That's what's going to happen. I'm going to get branded as.
Oh, no, this is not punchline material.
We're helping.
We're helping. We're trying to make you fucking less insane.
Unless you're a fan of crullers, we're helping.
We're helping.
You know what?
Some
you put
people
the
would just gloss
crullers, Lachlan.
Jimmy, some people would just gloss over your life of horror. I want to help you. I want to bring it out.
You know what? My dad married a hooker,
Great.
and this is what I have to deal with. That's fine. You know, that's what happened.
Yep. It's
Oh my
never a good idea.
Waters are deep.
Yeah, they are. Thanks to James DiFiore at James DiFiore on Twitter, at Lachlan Cross on Twitter. Lachlan, of course, the host of the Locker Room morning show on 95.7 Cruise FM in Edmonton. Appreciate you. Thanks to our friends at Blue Microphones for his microphone and headphones, my headphones, and James' microphone, which is on the way. He just lives in buttfuck Mississippi.
James, you are going to love your mic.
Yes,
it is awesome.
I can't wait to call you, Lachlan, until you can tell me how to connect it.
Don't call me. Call Dean.
Okay. Call Dean Strong.
Call me,
sorry,
I
this
want to
person
know
does
way
not
more
answer his phone.
about your life. Yeah, I got a million other questions.
Oh.
Anyway, thanks to our friends at Blue Microphones, powered by Blue, the DeanBlundell.com podcast network. All of us have them. You need to get them too. Go to Blue Microphones, Google them, go and look for some stuff. They'll send it to you in like 3 days. It's incredible. Contactless, great stuff if you're doing this kind of podcast broadcasting. So do it now. Our friends.
If you're doing a podcast and you don't have this, you're an idiot.
Basically.
Like honestly, it's so slick.
How dumb do you feel about how you podcasted prior to doing this?
Pretty dumb.
Yeah, you looked ridiculous.
Yes, used to it, but
Me too. Anyway, so we've got some Gitch for you too. Ed's Fine Imports has Gitch. I'm sending you guys 2 pairs each. I'll need your addresses, so don't hang up.
I'm a 36
You're 36
with an extra large pouch.
Yeah, they have those right here.
For the
breathable,
balls.
moisture wicking, because you know you get moist down there sometimes if you're running around. Resistant to shrinkage, just the underwear. Super soft fabric. It's got the old fly hole pouch. It's boxer briefs every day, all day. Gitch from Ed's Fine Imports. Order them today. You'll send you a free pair too. You order 3, you get the 4th one for free. Promo code GITCH3. Domination.com, DMNTM.com, DMNTN.com. It's how you produce and get your content out to the masses, and you can do it in like 5 minutes or less. 100 pieces of content. Go there today. Thanks to our friends at Domination.com. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for doing this.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Dean. Bye, James.
Sign up for our newsletter at DeanBlundell.com as well. Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
Lachlan.
Bye.